think we're about ready to get started. We have a fantastic group here attending and very excited to get the conversation going today. I am Amber Willett, Director of Marketing at Bold Penguin. And from my background, it's kind of a unique spin. I spent the first 10 years of my career on the carrier side and underwriting ops before moving into product and marketing. So I love these conversations, getting everyone together, having different sides of the industry represented. So I'm very excited for the conversation today. And then with me today is Bold Penguin co-founder Mark Leonov.
Yeah, thanks, Amber. Like Amber said, I'm one of the founders of Bold Penguin, and I know a few of you know this about me, but I used to be an agent myself prior to starting Bold Penguin. So this topic today of digitization, connectivity, is something that I'm passionate about myself, not only because it's our business at Bold Penguin, but because of the current state of commercial insurance demands it. And let's face it, commercial insurance has changed this year. It's not the same as it was in 2019. And what I mean when I say that, it's not necessarily the customer hasn't changed. The relationships are still more important than ever, but the expectation and how the customer arrives at their insurance solution to solve their needs with an agent, with a carrier, is different than it's been in the past. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists today. First, I'd like to introduce Nikki French from Milo. Nikki, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, I'm Nikki French. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Milo. Milo is a digital agency backed by Lockton, the largest independent insurance brokerage. And we offer a full suite of insurance products at Milo. In addition to small commercial, which we're talking about today, we also offer small group benefits, personal lines, and more. So a big thanks to our friends at Bold Penguin for putting this together, and I'm excited for the conversation today.
Oh, it's going to be great. We're happy to have you with us. And next, we have Gary Baker from USAA. Gary?
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you having us today. Look forward to the conversation. I am General Manager and Vice President of the USAA agency, which is, for all intents and purposes, an independent agent for USAA members. Just a little background on me. I started my career with Allstate as an agent, as you were an agent, Mark, and then moved into the sales management ranks, moved to Nationwide, led their brokerage operation and their direct operation before coming here a couple of years ago.
Great. Thanks, Gary. And last but not least, we have Mauricio Comey with Intuit here with us today.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. I'm calling from San Francisco, and I am the head of insurance at Intuit. For those of you that might not know, Intuit is a company that builds financial software for individuals and small businesses. Our two main brands are TurboTax and QuickBooks. I'm relatively new to insurance, but I have fallen in love with the challenge of how to build a better offering for our customer base. The size of the opportunity is amazing, and I think there's a lot of problems that are still out there that I think we can improve. So excited for the opportunity to chat with you guys and learn from this conversation.
We're excited too. Amber, I'll turn it back over to you to take things from here.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think just to reiterate, and I can really relate to all that you've said, all three of you, in that we're in such a dynamic time in the industry. And again, I also kind of fell in love with the challenge of the industry, which is why, I'm going on 15 years. So excited to get the conversation going. And as Mark mentioned, please add questions throughout the conversation to the Q&A chunk. We have about 30 to 35 minutes of conversation penciled in for today, and then we will save 5 to 10 minutes for questions at the end. So you can feel free to add those into the Q&A section as we go along. So first, to level set, I'd love to get a perspective on what commercial connectivity should look like. So from each of you, what your vision would be for an ideal state of commercial connectivity, and what you see as the main gaps and pain points in the marketplace today as far as connectivity goes. So Gary, maybe you can kick us off.
Yeah, sure. Great question. Not the broad one to start with, right? So I think connectivity in the small commercial space has been evolving. To me, it's been evolving towards the direct distribution space. Obviously, the digital platforms that are available now are really tugging on the face-to-face distribution and putting that under pressure. I think that was going on before COVID. You put COVID in there, and that's just going to be an accelerator to doing business. I think you know, we all know that touching micro and small commercial is expensive for the agent and the carrier. So both want efficiency and effectiveness in how that business gets placed. I think customers are looking for to transact business digitally. That's where they are. That's where we got to meet them. But I think they also want choice in education. They don't want to be spending time doing data gathering or data dumping. They want to know what they're buying, and it's finding a balance in that opportunity there between choice and education. I think the direct carriers and large brokers and agents that are equipped are really embracing the shift to a more digital mood or digital way of doing business. Those without those platforms and sophistication are really going to struggle, or they've got to reinvent themselves or find a way to reinvent themselves. I think the connectivity also should allow for the third-party data integration, so it will allow for those quicker conversations and quicker results of quotes and such. And then as you play forward, the architecture is going to have to support the API integrations. If agents and carriers want to grow and scale, they've got to be able to enter into different ecosystems and platforms so they can play there. And I think, you know, micro and small carriers are more apt to do that because they are going to be consumed or look to be consumed in different platforms and ecosystems as we move forward.
Yeah, I'll jump in and agree with you, Gary, there on the efficiency one. Obviously, that's a huge piece of it. And I think we can all agree that, you know, there's a lot of inefficiencies for being able to touch and deal with small businesses and micro businesses. So the old way has a lot of efficiency. But the upside of that is that there's lots of ways that we can tackle improving it. So we can provide tools for our agents. We can have the business owner interact in a more self-service manner. And then I think a third thing that we can do is helping digitize all that information that the agent has and just have it all at their fingertips. So as a broker, the value we provide to the business owner, that small business owner, is the expert advice. And there's just a wealth of knowledge that our agents have, from the appetite information of all the carriers they have available to them, the special features of certain products, and being able to understand a business and understand the right match for that, that particular business. You know, if we can digitize that information and serve that up to our agents, spread it out, share the wisdom across our whole team, make sure it's the most up-to-date information, then we can really have our agents focus, spending time less on, like you were talking about, all the inefficient things, data capture, things like that, but also, you know, make sure that they can spend their time understanding the customer and really maximizing that value that they're providing to that small business owner.
Awesome. +1 on all of those things. From the Intuit side, maybe the one thing that I would add is taking a little bit of a customer lens and on the pain points and the value that the connectivity can provide to improve them. We have identified 3 things that I think you know, makes insurance today particularly painful. The first one is that on average, small businesses, particularly the smallest one here, I'm going at like the, you know, micro and very small businesses, spend an outsized portion of their revenue on insurance. It can range anywhere between 2% to 10% of their sales. So in a way, it becomes an expensive tax. On top of that, you add the fact that it takes a long time to purchase, from the search of the right insurance products to finding the right provider to be able to sell it to you, to then understanding the difference between A and B, which honestly for a small business is incredibly confusing. It is a lot of time. And then last, it's a confidence problem. Even when you purchase it, you don't know if you have the right thing for your product. You know, small businesses that had business interruption insurance they did not expect that with COVID, pandemics didn't apply. Or you know, I love the story of one of our customers, a plumber, who has a general liability product that doesn't cover for water damage. I'm like, ugh. So I think if you take the customer problem and really understand it, who they are, they have limited time. They have to spend most of it selling to their customers or producing the services that they need to be able to be a successful business owner. They want to spend as little time as possible buying and managing insurance. They want to have high confidence that they are protected, and hopefully that the cost is reasonable for the value that they're getting. And today we see big gaps on that. And I think that with the right connectivity, with the right insurance product, the right operational processes, you can improve on all those three pain points pretty dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hearing a lot of themes here, that information asymmetry, the misplaced connections there, and then expectations. I think that all filters together to create a really challenging environment with a ton of opportunity. And one thing that jumped out at me when Mark was kind of sharing the topic here today is, you know, businesses and people haven't, you know, changed drastically in 10 years, but the world around us has. So today, where businesses are and meeting them takes on different forms. So how have you seen this take shape over the last few years? And what does it look like today in terms of capitalizing on this?
So I'll jump in and say there's always room for a great agent in the marketplace that absolutely brings value. But I do think that there's been a battle going on between direct and digital solutions and agent models. And, you know, I only have to look to personal lines to see that where that is kind of playing out. If you look back, you know, 15, 20 years and look at the top 5 auto carriers, they're a lot different today than they were then. I think the same thing has got the potential to happen in the small and micro space. But I think instead of being driven by telephone, this time it will be driven digitally. And it remains to be seen who those top 5 would be, you know, 5 years from now. But I think it's really tough for agents, because going and knocking on doors and shaking hands and going to businesses is very, very difficult right now, particularly obviously with the environment we're in with the pandemic. But I think businesses are evolving, and, you know, no longer do they have that Main Street domain. They've got, a lot of them have digital domains, and they're spending a lot of time you know, online, and that's where they expect to do business. So meeting clients where they are, the clients are digital and mobile, and they want to do business quickly and easily, and as you said, Mauricio, with a high degree of confidence in what they're buying. So if you can digitally educate and have the client have a high degree of confidence in what they're buying from you, then the market is ripe for disruption. You know, so, and I think the other piece is, as we go through this, carriers and agents have got to leverage the data that they're collecting, right? So there's a huge amount of data that's out there. And if they can leverage that and bring it in to be more value add to a client, then they're more apt to get their business.
Yeah, I'd compliment on that, Gary, the part of you know, meeting customers where they are. I think it's really, really critical. You know, nobody wakes up thinking today is going to be a great day, let's go buy insurance. People buy insurance because the government requires them to, because their contractual relationships require them to, and at least in the small, you know, small and micro, you know, there's some proactive risk mitigation, but I would say that is limited. So particularly when you're talking about when your contractual relationships require it, you have an immediate need to purchase insurance. And the question is, like, what type of products and services do you use that catch you at that right moment in time to start the conversation? And I think that, you know, with the fragmentation in the market, there's so many options out there. People only have the bandwidth to interact with a number of players at any given time to provide a comparison. And whoever catches that customer at that point in time, it has an opportunity to capture the customer in the long run. If they make it really simple, if they leverage data, as you guys are saying, so that at least the painful paperwork part of selling insurance goes away, and it shifts more to that recommendation, consultative advisory part of it, I think there's a real opportunity.
Yeah, that's completely agree. That's what I was going to say. Same thing as, where businesses are is online, and any business owner can fill out an application and enter their credit card information. But back to what Mauricio was saying before is how do we provide that confidence that they're buying the right thing? Because in reality, in particular commercial insurance, it isn't like buying a toothbrush, right? Someone I saw pop up in the chat down there said, like insurance is just as good as your agent is. Your insurance only as good as your agent is. Because you do, like we were talking about, it's very complex, and how is the small business owner supposed to take time out of their day to become an expert in lots of all the different products that are out there? So the small business agency, we really provide more than just marketing and access. We need to provide that expertise, that knowledge, that consultation to give the small business owner confidence of what they're buying. And yeah, we need to, meet them where they're at, give them digital solutions, texting, chat, modern communication forms as well as the phone calls, because often they do, the agents or the customer business owner still wants to talk to a human, not a robot, and make sure that someone is looking at it, looking out to protect what really matters to them, which is their business.
It reminds me of the shift in acronyms. You got B2B and B2C, but the H to H, the human to human, is thinking about it as a business, and especially in like the small and micro space, that business owner being, having some comparisons to personal lines when they want that personal touch, the text, and then not waiting for, a miscellaneous renewal date, but what are the triggers? What causes someone to shop? And what do they need when they shop? And what builds that confidence in the product, which is often kind of a ball of mystery for them. I think those are really great points. And that customer focus, I think, is a really key point of the future of the industry. And a lot of that is building new stuff, right? And kind of enabling the benefits of the commercial ecosystem that has evolved. So when it comes down to those types of decisions that build or buy or rent, how do you make those difficult decisions in your organizations and your teams?
I can start if you want. So I think it's really important for us to focus on where we can be really good at, and then let everybody else do the same. For us, entering the insurance space has been a humbling experience. It's complicated, especially with a customer base as broad as ours. The matching demand and supply is very hard. So I think that we need to rely on partners that have the insurance expertise and the technological capabilities to be able to offer the fulfillment part of the insurance products, because they have the expertise. And where we can be really good at is at acquiring those customers, segmenting them, understanding them, leveraging the data that we have in our products and in our databases that allow us to provide something that is differentiated and unique. So, if you're to boil it down, especially at the beginning when you're starting, you have to be super focused on the things that allow you to move quick and learn. And there are critical partners out there that will enable you to make that possible.
Go ahead, Nikki, you go ahead.
Okay. I agree with that. And then I'd also say that, a lot of the things that we're looking for that we think would be great solutions to provide to our agents or to the business owners, it just doesn't exist yet. So sometimes we have to build it. But when we can buy, rent, and partner, that's a great opportunity to do that. Otherwise, there's just too much to do. And another thing that we spend a lot of our time, a lot of our building efforts on is actually integrating and connecting various separate systems to make them operate as one cohesive platform. So we look for partners who are creating systems that work well with that strategy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think we look at it through the lens of should we build, buy, or ally? And then we try and be pragmatic and know what we want to accomplish, right? So we've got a clear vision and line of sight. I think understanding what's most important to you and what you want to have most control over is critical. Is it the user experience? Is it the data? That should inform your decision. And then when you look at your abilities to integrate, you want to ensure that if you buy, that you're going to integrate and it's going to simplify and automate for you as much as possible. Then you've got to ask the question, is the platform that you're existing on scalable? And then who can you grow with? And can the platform evolve with you and not hold you back? I think you've got so many carriers in the marketplace today moving off legacy platforms. You don't want to get caught in the same place replacing platforms every 20 years. You know, the worst technology you'll be seeing in this space where we are right now is the technology we have today. I'm sure things are only going to get better. So you got to make sure that your technology is adaptable and scalable.
I think those are some really key points. And one thing that I think we can all relate to is being first prioritizing which piece do we absolutely need the control over, and then being really transparent about your own internal capabilities and the prospective partners, right? You know, how much time would it take us to build this? How much time would it take the partner to build this? Which is acceptable, and being realistic about it. And I think you can really set yourself up for success that way. But certainly it's not an easy feat to find the right partner. What other advice do you have, and what processes do you follow for really finding, vetting, and choosing the right partner?
Yeah, at Milo, we talk a lot about crawl, walk, and run. So in particular for a new product or a new relationship, we like to really start small, minimize your risk with that new partner by doing a small project first, making sure you're seeing success before moving on to the bigger ones. Pause often and see what's working well and what you can adjust. Another thing, kind of like what Gary was saying there, is like look at for a partner that is, you were talking about scaling and growing in the direction you want. I think, you know, finding a partner who's, you know, their whole goal and purpose is really in line with where you're trying to go to. So you know that as they continue to evolve and grow and scale, that's going to continue to be add value to your partnership. And then, you know, for existing software products, always asking for references, and if you can find someone who's actually using the system or worked with that partner before, to find the pain points that they run into, so you can at least be prepared for those the challenges you might run into.
I think it's a great point, Nikki. I think you got to look around and see who you're in contact with and who they're doing business with, and ask questions of their business partners. You got to do business with somebody you like, right, and who can help, because you're going to be solving a lot of problems together. So you'll be spending a lot of time, so you might as well like them. Before you make that move, demo. Understand what the capabilities are, how they can be leveraged. And then as you're going through those, make sure you're getting the right audiences in front of the technology, right? You want to make sure they're asking the right questions around experience and flow and integration. And then, you know, obviously you're going to perform due diligence, and very much when you start into things, start with an MVP and then iterate and grow confidence, and then scale and move quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus one on both of your perspectives. From our side, we you know, the QuickBooks population of customers is fairly large and incredibly diverse, and also we want to maintain a certain minimum like standard of you know, technology experience. So the two things that we're looking at on top of all of the things that you've said is you know, insurance depth and breadth. Can you actually put in front of these customers a product that can actually work for them? It's you know, harder to do than just saying it. And then from a technology capabilities, is it aligned with what we're trying to build? If we're trying to control the customer experience, what do we need on the back end to really power it that works as seamlessly as possible, rather than having to put additional layers of complexity into the system, which is amazing how easy and how quickly you can make it worse. So we have to try to focus on making sure that the partners that we find have that dual balance to make sure that the experience that we're putting together is a good experience for the customer.
Right, because whether you build, buy, or rent, there is no perfect solution. There is no perfect project. Digitization is a challenging, I think a lot of us have been a part of legacy transformations, have experienced this firsthand. So as we continue to evolve and continue to digitize in different ways, how do we make this process, these projects, these innovations as smooth and painless as possible?
I think that's a trick question, Amber. It's not going to be either of those. It's not going to be smooth or painless. So first of all, don't go in with those expectations. I think Nikki said yesterday, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think made a ton of sense. I think you've, again, goes back to picking the right partner and spending time on the front end. And I think, you know, if they're bringing solutions, the more you try and customize, the more difficult and expensive it can be. And, you know, it might create problems as you solve in other. And then you got to get really tight with your change management journey. And it goes back into that testing, learning, and iterating. Don't go for the big bang wow factor. Go incremental and then and grow from there. That way you're being less disruptive to the business.
Yeah, plus one, definitely not going to be painless. I like what you had said before in one of the earlier questions, Gary, about being very clear about your objectives. And hopefully when you're looking for that partner, you can find somebody that has that strategic alignment as well as a culture that can work with yours. If you're working together to that end outcome that you're both agreed on, you can deal with the difficulties. If that's not there, then the pain becomes acute and it can, you know, go south very quickly.
Yeah, change is hard, and if you can embrace the change and, you know, see the positive in it, be excited about the evolution and the progress that it means, you know, and agree with Gary about tackling it in a, you know, small evolutions toward your long-term goal. Don't try to do it all in one bang.
I should have phrased the question as, how do we prevent the pain from becoming acute? I like to rephrase it that way. Because you're absolutely right. Yeah, there is no pain. There is no painless transformation or innovation. If there was, it wouldn't be fun, right? It's the challenges that make us grow and make it so fun in some ways. So also, there's so many different ways to digitize and to grow and to really expand, you know, your innovation in your organization. Do you have any advice for what type of technology is best to leverage?
That's such a broad question, Amber. I think it really depends on the problem that you're trying to solve, right? Are you trying to do a systemic, wholesale change in your operations and processes, and that is one type of decision? Or are you going very tactically at solving a problem, maybe in the conversion funnel, where you think you can make things more efficient and effective? It's about being very clear about that objective, the resources that you have to make that possible, the partners that are out there that have those capabilities that might be the right ones, and then take it from there. You know, maybe technology is, as Gary said before, pulling third-party data that allows you to simplify how quickly a customer can get through a quoting flow. If it's that, it's very different than wholesale policy management system that changes your entire operation. So.
I'll say just generally, you know, vendors who are focused on insurance or have some background with insurance are really well prepared to help out with as a technology partner. My background isn't in insurance, so before I came to Milo, I was in technology, I was in software, and it just seemed so easy from the outside. Seemed like such an easy problem to solve. So we talk a lot about that whenever there's a question about the insurance, it comes back as it depends. So there really are a lot of complexities in the especially the small commercial insurance space. So in general, obviously there are times when it doesn't matter, that you can have your technology it's not specific to insurance, but if it is specific to insurance, someone who has had some experience with those complexities really helps out.
I think ultimately you want the technology to be a friend, right? You want to either speed something up or simplify, so you can create an area of focus around either your pipeline or the experience, but take the difficult out with technology if you can. And then I think the other thing, people get technology and they start leveraging it and they become really satisfied really quickly. And I think we got a saying here that better never stops, and you've got to A/B test, A/B test, A/B test. If it's customer facing, do I want the get quote box here to be red? Do I want it to be blue? How will it appear? And you got to continually look to iterate, change, and test so you can seek better efficiency and performance.
As a marketer, I cannot agree more with A/B testing. And yeah, even I think that is just the continuous experimentation. And yeah, like you said, not like Nikki said, not being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and yeah, continually getting better. And certainly that's our goal and really our responsibility as those in small commercial to move the industry forward together. So looking ahead, in the next 5-10 years, what do you see as the future? What does the future hold for the small commercial ecosystem?
That's a super interesting question, and putting our visionary hats on. Recently, I saw an interesting video from one of the partners at Andreessen Horowitz, and she was trying to explain this banking as a service concept of how any company could become a bank, because there's going to be this whole number of players out there that are building technology and processes and capabilities so that any brand can offer a card or a checking account. I think in the insurance space, something similar is happening, maybe a little bit slower or a little bit behind. Today we don't have a Stripe of insurance or a Square of insurance. They're coming. So brands like ours, which traditionally have not played in that space, are starting to find companies that allow us to build an insurance offering that we can put in front of our customers without becoming an insurance company ourselves. And I think that that's really interesting to see how it's going to evolve, where, if you have capital on one end, distribution on the other, all those jobs that happen in the middle, how can you plug and play them together so that at the end of the day, a company like ours can put something forward in front of their customers? So I think more and more brands like us are going to start entering the insurance space.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would also add just that it is a really exciting time in commercial insurance, and data and technology are creating a new era of like personalized and predictive insurance shopping. So the small business owner, I believe, is just going to continue to get a more rich experience because the agents are going to have data at their fingertips. They're not going to be as bogged down with all the inefficiencies that previously existed. So they're going to be able to have, a higher level of, concierge type of recommendation and advice that they previously was probably hard for them to find, to find an expert in their area, in their particular type of business with the breadth of appetite that they might need. So we're very excited, clear that it's going to continue to just keep getting better. Like Mark said when we started off, it's changed a lot recently, but it's just gonna, I think it's gonna ramp up even faster, especially with more players getting in the game, like Mauricio was talking about.
Yeah, I think that's right. I said, when you say what does the future hold, I think it's up to us to decide and define, really. I think if we're in the industry now, it's being open-minded enough to experiment and integrate where you think there's opportunity and potential. I do think with the amount of data that is out there and going to be collected and be usable, personalized experiences and unique experiences for individual businesses are going to be paramount. Leveraging the rich data to be more than insurance, I think, is going to be critical. Speed is always going to be important. I think, insurance is going to be bought and sold differently, right? It's making sure you can adapt to the evolving landscapes that are going to enable new business models to form. But you look at the major organizations that are out there in business today, and they're all based off of ecosystems, right? Yep. So you look at Google, Facebook, social media, and all. Everything's an ecosystem that's feeding something. And I think insurance is going to be ripe to either engage and control it or be part of an ecosystem that a big company can take and manage and make the most of.
So we got new players, customization, concierge, data, and an even stronger ecosystem. Sounds like an exciting time to be in small commercial.
Hopefully customers at the end will be happier and have a better product.
Yes.
No more plumbers without water coverage.
Yes, please. Let's do that. Awesome. Well, I think we've got a couple minutes. So I think Mark has been collecting a couple questions here.
Yeah, yep. I've got a few questions that have come in here. And for those of you that would like to ask questions now, I'll put them in that question section. It's towards the bottom of your screen. It just says Q&A. So type it in there. And we'll get to as many as we can with the remaining time that we have. But again, if we don't get to it, we'll help get you an answer afterwards. So the first one comes from Michael here. And this one focuses around third-party data. So I'm going to try and paraphrase. Essentially, can you share some examples on how third-party data has been used to make a truly meaningful impact in the customer experience or customer or agent experience, to add value to the customer, with leveraging third-party data? That's the root of the question here, like real examples. Anyone?
Yeah, sure. So just in quoting, rather than doing the data dive and extracting it from the client, you get a name, you get the address of the business, and then using third-party data, it populates the building, it populates a whole host of things. So the speed at which you can get to talk about the coverages and what it is they need and want is expedited. So it's really leveraging the data that's out there to populate for quoting purposes. You're then in a situation where you're just either verifying it or you build that level of confidence. You get to those assumptions and then you're building off of that. So just expedites the quote process tremendously.
Great. Mauricio,
we have less experience with third-party data, so I wouldn't be able to provide a good example. But where I can maybe mention something is more on the use of first-party data, which at the end of the advantage that we have, and I think we can use it for three main things. The first one is for understanding really well who the customer is, even before they come to us for insurance. So it's more about marketing and targeting and messaging. The second one is more tactical about the application itself. So, if the average insurance policy application is between 40 and 60 questions, can we simplify that because we already have answers to many, if not most of those questions from the onset, just because of the nature of what our product does. And I think those are very short-term, very tactical. The last one, which I think is more aspirational, is can there be data that is predictive of risk in ways that hasn't been expected before? So we have thousands of data attributes that can be proxies for measures of responsibility. And one of the things that we have not established yet is a prediction of whether for a particular customer that could mean potentially a 20% discount or a 30% discount. And if we get there, then that's going to become really interesting, because it could make our products that we start offering customers very competitive if we find a partner that we can work with to do that.
Yeah, I think the pre-fill one is a big one. I think whether it's first party or third party data, depending on what part of the chain you're in, there can also be value to the customer about people like you, what they tend to buy. We noticed that most landscapers or most plumbers have this water backup coverage, or we notice, you have employees. Another thing could be throughout the life cycle of the small business owner, right? Third-party data can, alert you of changes to the business. And then the last one being, claims examples. So if you have third-party data on, the types of claims, third-party or first-party, on the types of claims that businesses like this typically have, it can be very useful for explaining to the business owner the value of that insurance product.
And just sort of a question that on this one, and sorry to just jump in. One thing that I think it's also interesting is the businesses are dynamic. I think today policies are sold on a yearly basis, and I think it's interesting to see how as businesses change through the year. Are there practices for even telematic insurance? What if your revenue is growing really fast? What if you're hiring employees really quickly? What if you're changing business activities? That's something that I'm not sure has been explored enough, and where there could be tons of good opportunities.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense. And I think, there's a lot of stones to be unturned here when it comes to data, and it's only going to be more exciting as we move forward. I was just looking at the clock. It's 2:45. We have just a great list of questions here. But I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. We are going to have to wrap up. If you have additional questions afterwards, I'll make sure we get answers to everyone's questions that are in here. And to the panelists, I'll share these questions with you as well, because they are really good. One's around the future of claims. One's talking about, as different stakeholders in the digital ecosystem, what are some of the features you're looking for out of your carrier partners, around data and security. So really good questions. But unfortunately, we're at time here. So I do want to thank all of our panelists. Gary, Mauricio, Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today. Amber, thank you for moderating. And there will be a recording of this coming out shortly. And thank you to all the attendees who made this this great today. Do appreciate it. And my email, mark@boldpenguin, if you have questions. And thank you everyone for participating today. This was wonderful. Thank you to our panelists.
Thank you so much, panelists, attendees. Great conversation. Really appreciate everyone taking a bit of their time to spend it with us talking about small commercial.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.